Hello, Carrie Burchell here with another episode of Shine Like a North Star. As you well know from previous episodes, we call these Shine Like a North Stars because they are intended to help you shine your best and navigate some of those dynamics that we know the North Star has, is that the North Star doesn't always shine the brightest consistently, and that is leadership in life. So our intention here is to help you with some tips to keep you shining your best. Now, we have done some work around this concept of the ASKhole, and some of you have reached out and kind of wanted a better elaboration or more detail around, like, what is an ASKhole? So that is today's episode. And the first step of not being an ASKhole is to recognize when you are being put in the ASKhole position. So let's kind of get into this a little bit. You are being pulled in the ASKhole trap if you, wait for it, drum roll, because this is all of us. You get asked a question or you solve a problem. Now that normally is helpful, right? As leaders, we want to be asked questions so we can help, and we want to solve problems so our employees can do the work. The trick about being an ASKhole is you're an ASKhole if the other party already knows the answer, or they know how the problem should be resolved, and you jump in and you tell them the answer and you fix things, because the reality is they're not ready for it. That's part of why people are asking you, because they don't really want to accept the truth of the answer, or they don't really want to do the work behind that. So you're the ASKhole if you get asked a question, solve a problem that the other person already knows that they're not ready to accept. You go ahead and you answer or fix the problem. And then what happens? Because they're not ready, right? You get blamed. They're not happy with the outcome. They don't like the way you worded the answer. They repeated you to whatever group and it backfired and you just get blamed. Like it's this kind of scapegoat scenario. Being an ASKhole positions you to be a victim. Hard truth, right? And so it really comes from this place of caring and wanting to help. So recognize it as a good thing. It's not a weakness if you get pulled in the ASKhole trap. It is problematic though, because you get blamed when you get pulled into that trap. So at the last live that we did a week ago, we talked about strategies to kind of circumvent being pulled into the ASKhole trap. But before we even get to strategies, just think about whether or not you're positioned to be the ASKhole. And if you fall into that trap, then you are answering the question, you are resolving the problems that other people could kind of do on their own with a little nudge, right? A little accountability. So when people ask you hard questions that you know they know the answer to, don't answer the question. Don't fall into the ASKhole trap. It's just that simple. So some sensitive questions, like a colleague was telling me recently that they were a medical clinic director, and one of the physicians had reached out to ask for their social security number on a Saturday afternoon. You know that individual knows their social security number, right? Just don't fall into the trap asking. Lead them into figuring out where they keep their card, right? Don't answer. Because every time you answer and you fall into that ASKhole trap, you are enabling their dependency on you. And over time, you feel taken advantage of, undervalued, doing menial tasks that are like really not your leadership expertise that you could be putting in action. So just avoid the ASKhole trap by first recognizing when you're in the trap. Another example at a recent keynote that I did was a lab situation, and they had a fridge that broke down. Obviously, there's medicines in the fridge. There's a temperature and time sensitivity to the medicine sort of expiring. And so the people in the lab called the manager, who was off-site, and says, "Hey, the fridge is broken. What do you want me to do?" Well, who's best positioned to problem solve that? The person in the lab, right? So just don't fall in the ASKhole trap. And that's when people are asking you a question or asking you to solve a problem that they could do on their own, right? They may not be ready. They may need some support, right? Some encouragement, some support, not you being the ASKhole, jumping in and fixing what we should do with the fridge, or fixing, oh, let me tell you what your social security number is. Or even the, personal questions of, does it look like I've put on weight? You know the answer to that if you're asking it, right? Just don't fall into the trap. You know when things are going to backfire on you. That's the ASKhole trap. You know when people are just reluctant to accept the truth, the hard answer, reluctant to do the big work, the dirty work, the hard work. Just help them do it. But resist your temptation to care too much, because that'll put you in the ASKhole trap. Not fun. Nobody likes being the ASKhole, because you get blamed after and you feel frustrated because you've done all this really great leadership work, caring and helping and contributing and like bomb.com sort of stuff. And then people aren't grateful for it, right? Because it wasn't exactly how they would have done it. Or, well, you don't really know everything. Or, that hurt my feelings. Or, right? People know most of the time when they ask you for help and they're looking for validation, they're looking for support, maybe some encouragement, maybe some advice. They're not looking for you to jump in, even though they asked you to jump in and fix things and answer questions. So you are the ASKhole if you are answering a question, solving a problem that the other party already knows. They're not ready to accept it, but they could with some encouragement and some support from you. Right? Okay. This takes a lot of self-discipline to avoid being the ASKhole. I'll tell you that right now. It is really hard to not answer the question, not be the ASKhole, and not get pulled into the ASKhole trap. So first step is just recognize, do you answer questions, fix things when you know the other person kind of knows what to do. That's today's leadership tip, is first thing, be aware. We've got workshops on this topic, tough conversations, do leadership development training. The bottom line of pulling away from the ASKhole trap is it helps get you time back to do leadership work. It pulls you out of that day-to-day spin where you can actually get to your to-do work. And the real bonus is that your staff, employees, team, customers, patients, they feel empowered. And it positions you to give them credit and recognize them for doing some of their good work. Right? So when we avoid the ASKhole trap, lots of great things happen. I'm Carrie Burchell, and I would love to help you make sure you don't fall into the ASKhole trap. See you next week on Shine Like a North Star.